and the Galactic Council declared war. Earth smiled, ready at last. The great hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with angry voices. 12 different alien species sat around the massive circular table, their representatives arguing in heated tones. The air shimmered with translation fields as dozens of languages mixed together. Ambassador Krell stood up from his seat. His green-scaled skin caught the light from the crystal ceiling above. The Vorthak warrior was known for his short temper and loud voice. Today, both were on full display. "The humans have gone too far this time," Krell said, slamming his clawed fist on the table. "They ignore our messages. They break our treaties. They take what they want without asking permission." Around the table, other representatives nodded in agreement. The insect-like Zephyrians clicked their mandibles in approval. The floating gas beings called drifters pulsed with orange light, showing their anger. Elder Visara of the Luminari rose slowly from her crystal seat. Her body was made of pure energy, glowing white and beautiful. She was old, even by Luminari standards, and had seen many wars. Her voice was soft, but everyone listened. "Perhaps we should try talking to them one more time," she suggested. "War brings only pain and death. Surely the humans can be made to understand." Commander Thane laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the hall. The hegemony officer was built like a tank, with thick armor covering his blue-gray skin. His people were warriors who respected only strength. "Talk?" Thane said. "We have been talking for 10 years. The humans smile and nod, then do whatever they want. They have taken 47 star systems in the last decade alone. How many more will we let them steal?" The other representatives murmured agreement. Fear and anger filled the great hall. The humans had appeared in space only 50 years ago, but they spread faster than any species in galactic history. They built colonies everywhere, mined asteroids, and explored systems that other species had claimed first. "They are like a disease," said Speaker Vex of the Collective. His mechanical voice was cold and emotionless. "They multiply and spread without control. If we do not stop them now, they will consume the entire galaxy." On the far side of the galaxy, Earth spun quietly in its yellow sun's light. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from space, but deep underground, important people were having their own meeting. President Maria Rodriguez sat at the head of a long table in a room carved from solid rock. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps, fleet positions, and classified reports. Around her sat the most powerful people on Earth. General Blake Harrison was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had spent his whole life preparing for war. Today he looked calm and ready. Next to him sat Dr. Elena Vasquez, Earth's top expert on alien species. Her dark eyes studied the reports in front of her with careful attention. "Ma'am," General Harrison said, sliding a data tablet across the table, "our deep space sensors are picking up massive movements. Every major council species is moving their fleets. This is it." President Rodriguez picked up the tablet and read the information. Her face stayed calm, but her advisors could see the small smile at the corner of her mouth. "How long do we have?" she asked. 6 months, maybe 7, Dr. Vasquez replied. "They are gathering the largest war fleet in galactic history. Conservative estimates put their numbers at over 15,000 ships." Around the table, other officials shifted nervously. 15,000 ships was more than Earth's entire population had ever seen in one place. It was enough firepower to crack planets and turn star systems to dust. But President Rodriguez just nodded. "Good. That gives us enough time to complete the final preparations." General Harrison leaned forward. "Ma'am, should we activate Protocol Omega?" The president was quiet for a long moment. Protocol Omega was humanity's deepest secret, 50 years in the making. It was their answer to this exact situation, the day when the galaxy would finally try to destroy them. "Yes," she said finally. "Send the activation codes to all stations. Tell our people that the waiting is over. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." Back on Nexus Prime, the Council had reached their decision. Ambassador Krell stood before the Great Seal of the Galactic Council, his voice carrying to every world in their territory. By order of the Galactic Council, humanity is declared a threat to galactic peace and order. All human colonies will surrender immediately. All human ships will stand down and prepare to be boarded. The species known as humanity will submit to Council authority or face extinction. The message was broadcast across space, reaching every inhabited world within days. Most species received it with relief. The human problem would finally be solved. But some species were worried. The Traders Guild, who had done business with humans for decades, sent private messages to their contacts. The humans they knew were not the wild, dangerous creatures the Council described. They were careful, smart, and always seemed to know more than they let on. On Earth, President Rodriguez watched the Council's declaration with her staff. When it ended, she looked around the room at the faces of her advisors. "Well," she said, "I suppose we should send a reply." The return message was simple and broadcast on all frequencies. President Rodriguez appeared on screen, sitting calmly in her office. Behind her, the flag of United Earth hung next to windows showing the planet's blue skies. "To the Galactic Council," she began, "we have received your ultimatum. We appreciate you finally being honest about your intentions. For 50 years you have watched us with suspicion and fear. You have tried to limit our growth and control our expansion. Today you have decided to destroy us." She paused, and that small smile appeared again. "We would like to thank you. Your declaration of war has finally given us permission to show you who we really are. You think you know humanity, but you have only seen what we wanted you to see. The real test is about to begin." The message ended, and across the galaxy, alien governments wondered what the human leader meant. Some dismissed it as the desperate words of a doomed species. Others were not so sure. Deep in space, ancient installations that had been dark for decades suddenly came to life. Power flowed through systems that had been waiting patiently for this moment. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids began their final system checks. Cloaked ships that had been drifting like space debris started their engines, and on Earth, in underground cities that could house billions, children played while their parents made final preparations. They had always known this day would come. Humanity had spent 50 years getting ready for it. The galaxy thought it was about to crush a young, reckless species, but Earth's leaders knew better. The Council had no idea what they were really facing. The war they had declared was about to teach them exactly why humans had been smiling for so long. In command centers across human space, the same message appeared on every screen. Protocol Omega is now active. All units report ready. Phase 1 begins in 72 hours. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to be revealed. 3 months had passed since the Council's declaration of war. The largest military fleet in galactic history now moved through space toward the Sol system. Admiral Jorvac stood on the bridge of his flagship, the massive dreadnought called Eternal Dominion. Around him, officers from a dozen different species worked at their stations. The admiral was a Nexari, tall and thin with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His people were known as the galaxy's best military strategists. He had never lost a battle in 40 years of service. Today would not be different. "Report," Admiral Jorvac commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. Navigation Officer Lixa, a young Vorthak with bright green scales, checked her instruments. "Sir, we are now 2 days from the human home system. The fleet reports all ships ready for combat." The admiral nodded and looked at the tactical display floating in the center of the bridge. Thousands of red dots represented the ships under his command. Battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and carriers from every major species in the galaxy. Each dot represented enough firepower to level a city. "And the humans?" he asked. "Minimal activity, sir," replied Lieutenant Commander Voss, the ship's intelligence officer. The Zephyrian's insect eyes glowed as he studied his screens. "We detect a few patrol ships, some orbital stations around their outer planets. Nothing that suggests serious resistance." Admiral Jorvac allowed himself a small smile. "As expected. They are trying to appear confident, but they know they cannot win. When faced with overwhelming force, even humans must see reason." On the other side of the galaxy, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains on Earth, General Harrison stood in the war room that would decide humanity's fate. The underground complex was a marvel of engineering, carved from solid rock and shielded from every known form of detection. Banks of computers lined the walls, their screens showing the positions of every ship in both fleets. Hundreds of officers and technicians worked quietly at their stations, monitoring the greatest military operation in human history. "Sir," called Captain Torres from her position at the tracking station, "Council forces have crossed the heliopause. They'll be in weapons range of the outer planets in 36 hours. General Harrison studied the main display, which showed the approaching alien fleet as a massive cloud of red contacts. 15,000 ships, just as intelligence had predicted. It was beautiful in its own way, like a deadly storm approaching across space. "Phase 1 status?" he asked. "All civilian populations evacuated to the underground cities," replied Colonel Martinez, the logistics coordinator. "Essential personnel are at their stations. All stealth platforms report ready." President Rodriguez entered the command center, her footsteps echoing in the vast underground chamber. She looked calm and rested, as if she had been sleeping well despite the approaching invasion. "General," she said, joining him at the tactical display, "how do we look?" "Perfect, ma'am. Our guests have no idea what's waiting for them." On the flagship Eternal Dominion, Admiral Jorvac called his senior staff together for a final briefing. Representatives from all 12 council species gathered in the ship's main conference room. The air was thick with different atmospheric requirements, and translation devices worked overtime to handle the mix of languages. "In 18 hours, we will arrive at Earth," the Admiral announced. "Intelligence suggests the humans have perhaps 200 ships in their home system. We outnumber them 75 to 1. This should be a simple matter." Commander Thane of the Hegemony leaned forward. His thick armor made a grinding sound as he moved. "What if they refuse to surrender?" "Then we destroy them," Admiral Jorvac replied without emotion. "The Council has authorized complete extermination if necessary. These humans have had their chance to cooperate." Elder Visara's energy form flickered with worry. "Such violence should be our last option. Perhaps when they see our numbers, they will see reason." "I hope so," the Admiral said, "but we must be prepared for any possibility." Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Rex Morrison floated in zero gravity aboard his ship, the Silent Hunter. The vessel looked like nothing more than a piece of space debris, its hull covered with rock and ice to disguise its true nature. Morrison had been waiting here for 6 weeks, along with hundreds of other ships hidden throughout the solar system. They were Earth's first line of defense, and the enemy had no idea they existed. "Control, this is Hunter 1, he whispered into his communications array. "I have visual on the main enemy fleet. They're moving in standard formation, no scouts ahead. They think they own the place." "Copy that, Hunter 1, came the reply from Earth. "Remember, maintain radio silence until the Admiral gives the word. Let them get comfortable first." Morrison smiled as he watched the massive alien fleet pass overhead. Each ship was a work of art in its own way, representing the best technology their species could build. It was a shame they would not be going home. The Council fleet entered the outer solar system like conquerors. Their sensors swept the area, cataloging the positions of planets, moons, and space installations. What they found seemed to confirm their expectations. "Sir," reported the sensor operator aboard Eternal Dominion, "we're detecting standard defensive installations around the major planets. Nothing beyond what we expected from a primitive species." Admiral Jorvac nodded. "Begin deployment. I want the fleet spread out to cover all possible escape routes. When the humans surrender, I don't want any ships slipping away." The great fleet began to spread out, thousands of ships moving into attack positions around Earth and its neighboring worlds. It was a textbook military deployment, designed to prevent any chance of enemy escape or counterattack. But as the alien ships moved into position, they passed by what seemed to be ordinary asteroids and space debris. None of their sensors detected the massive installations hidden inside those rocks, or the weapons platforms disguised as old satellites. On Earth, President Rodriguez watched the deployment from the command center. The aliens were doing exactly what human strategists had predicted they would do. 50 years of careful observation had taught them how each council species thought and fought. "They're spreading themselves thin," General Harrison observed. "Just like the war games predicted." "Pride," Dr. Vasquez added. "They're so confident in their numbers that they're not being careful." "It's exactly what we hoped for," the president nodded.
"How long until they're in position?"
6 hours, ma'am. Then we can begin." High above Earth's surface, the space stations that orbited the planet looked helpless compared to the approaching armada. A few human patrol ships moved between them, trying to look busy and worried. To the alien observers, it looked like a desperate attempt to mount some kind of defense. What the aliens could not see were the massive installations hidden on the dark side of the moon, or the defense platforms built into Earth's ring of space debris. They could not detect the ships powered down and drifting like dead hulks throughout the system. Admiral Jorvac stood on his bridge and looked at Earth through the main viewer. The blue and green planet hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and defenseless. Soon it would belong to the Council, and the human problem would be solved forever. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. Within minutes, the communications array was ready. The Admiral straightened his uniform and prepared to accept humanity's surrender. This had been easier than he expected, but as he prepared to speak, something strange happened. Deep in space, objects that had been dark and cold for decades began to glow with power. Ancient systems that had been waiting patiently for this moment started their final wake-up sequences. The greatest trap in galactic history was about to be sprung. Admiral Jorvac stood tall on his bridge as the communications channel opened. Around him, his officers prepared to record the moment when humanity finally surrendered to the power of the Galactic Council. This would be a day remembered throughout history. Humans of Earth, the Admiral began, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of authority. You are surrounded by the combined might of the galactic community. Your resistance is pointless. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Continue to defy us, and we will make your extinction slow and painful. The response came faster than expected. President Rodriguez appeared on the main screen, sitting calmly in what looked like her office. Behind her windows showed blue skies and white clouds. She looked completely relaxed, as if she were having a friendly conversation instead of facing annihilation. Admiral Jorvac, she said with a warm smile, we've been expecting you. I hope your journey was comfortable. Before you make any decisions you might regret, I suggest you take a closer look around your fleet. The Admiral frowned. Something in the human's tone bothered him. She sounded too confident, too calm. No one facing certain death should sound so relaxed. Sir, called Navigation Officer Lixa from her station. The human leader? She knows your name.
How is that possible?
Admiral Jorvac felt the first touch of unease. His name had not been in any of the broadcasts to Earth. How could this primitive species know who commanded their fleet? Run a full sensor sweep, he ordered. I want to know everything about this system. Lieutenant Commander Voss worked frantically at his controls. The Zephyrian's compound eyes reflected the glow of his screens as data flowed across them. What he saw made no sense. Sir, he said, his mechanical voice higher than usual, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the system. The power signatures are enormous. That's impossible, Admiral Jorvac snapped. Show me. The main tactical display changed, showing the solar system in 3 dimensions. Red dots marked the positions of council ships, while blue markers showed known human installations. But as they watched, new contacts began appearing everywhere. What looked like asteroids suddenly blazed with power. Space debris that had drifted for decades came alive with energy signatures. Empty regions of space revealed massive structures that had been invisible moments before. By the void, whispered Commander Thane from his position. There are thousands of them. On Earth, President Rodriguez smiled wider. I see your sensors are finally working properly. Admiral, let me introduce you to humanity's real defense network. We call it Project Deception, and it has been 50 years in the making. In the underground command center, General Harrison watched the alien fleet's reaction with satisfaction. Every screen showed panic spreading through their formations as more and more hidden installations revealed themselves. Ma'am, he said to the President, all weapons platforms report ready. We have them completely surrounded. Dr. Vasquez pulled up a holographic display showing the positions of both fleets. The alien ships, spread out in what they thought was a dominant formation, were now revealed to be scattered sheep surrounded by wolves. Every mining station we built, she explained to the staff around her, every research outpost, every seemingly innocent probe we sent into deep space, all of them were part of this moment. On the flagship Eternal Dominion, chaos ruled the bridge. Officers shouted reports in a dozen different languages as their sensors revealed the true scope of humanity's preparations. Energy readings are off the charts, Lixa reported. Sir, these installations, some of them are bigger than our dreadnoughts. Weapons? Admiral Jorvac demanded. Unknown configurations, Voss replied. But the power levels suggest firepower beyond anything in our databases. Elder Visara's voice came over the communications channel from her own ship. Admiral, my people's sensors are detecting quantum resonance patterns. The humans have weapons that operate on principles we do not understand. President Rodriguez was still on the screen, still smiling. You look surprised, Admiral. Did you really think we spent 50 years in space without learning anything? Every time your people visited our worlds, every trade negotiation, every cultural exchange was an opportunity for us to study you. The truth hit Admiral Jorvac like a physical blow. "Intelligence gathering," he said quietly. "Exactly," the president confirmed. "We know how each of your species fights. We know your tactics, your weaknesses, your psychological profiles. We know which commanders are brave and which are cowards. We know which ships have faulty shield generators and which crews have poor discipline." As she spoke, holographic displays appeared around the Admiral's bridge showing detailed information about his own fleet, ship specifications, crew records, tactical doctrines, even personal files on individual officers. The humans knew everything. Commander Thane's angry voice cut through the comm channel. "How is this possible? Our security protocols are unbreakable." "Your security is excellent," President Rodriguez agreed. "But it was designed to stop enemies who think like you. We don't. Humans have always been good at learning from others. We watched, we listened, and we remembered everything." Captain Rex Morrison, still hidden in the asteroid belt, watched the alien fleet's formation begin to collapse as panic spread through their ranks. Ships that had been in perfect military order minutes before now moved erratically as captains tried to understand what they faced. "Control, this is Hunter 1, he reported. "The fish are starting to realize they're in a barrel. Some of the smaller ships are trying to break away." "Let them," came the reply from Earth. "Phase 2 begins in 60 seconds. Throughout the solar system, installations that had been dark and silent for decades completed their startup sequences. Weapons that had never been tested in combat powered up to full capacity. Ships that had been disguised as space debris shed their camouflage and revealed their true nature. Admiral Jorvac stared at the tactical display as more and more human positions appeared. His fleet of 15,000 ships suddenly looked very small compared to the web of defenses surrounding them. "Sir," Lixa said quietly, "we're completely encircled. There's no way out." The Admiral's training told him to fight, to use his superior numbers to break through the human lines, but his experience told him something different. This was not a battle between fleets. This was an execution waiting to happen. "Open communications to all council ships," he ordered. "Defensive formations. All shields to maximum." But even as he gave the order, he knew it was pointless. The humans had planned this moment for 50 years. They knew exactly where every council ship would be, exactly what defenses they would use, exactly how they would react. President Rodriguez spoke again, her voice carrying clearly across space. "Admiral, your fleet is impressive. In any normal battle, you would win easily. But this is not a normal battle. This is the result of 5 decades of careful planning by a species that has been preparing for exactly this moment." She paused, and her smile became something else entirely, something that made the Admiral's blood run cold. "The question now is simple.
Do you want to learn why we've been smiling for so long?
Around the solar system, thousands of hidden weapons turned toward the alien fleet. The trap was complete, and the hunters were ready to begin. The tension in space was thick enough to cut. Admiral Jorvac stared at the tactical display showing his fleet surrounded by thousands of human weapons platforms. Every instinct told him to attack, but his experience warned him that this was exactly what the humans expected. "Admiral," President Rodriguez continued from the communications screen, "before we proceed, there's something else you should know. You came here to destroy what you thought was our homeworld." She gestured toward the windows behind her, which showed Earth's blue skies and green landscapes. "This beautiful planet you see, the one your weapons are aimed at. It's not really there." Commander Thane's voice crackled over the fleet communications. What is she talking about? The president smiled that dangerous smile again. Computer and projection, suddenly Earth vanished. The blue and green world that had hung in space before them simply disappeared, leaving nothing but empty space and scattered debris. The entire planet had been a holographic illusion. On the bridge of Eternal Dominion, every officer froze in shock. Navigation Officer Lixa's green scales turned pale as she stared at her instruments. "Sir," she whispered, "planetary mass readings are gone. There's nothing there." "Nothing at all." Lieutenant Commander Voss worked frantically at his station. "Massive holographic projection, sir. The energy required would be impossible. How did they do this?" President Rodriguez reappeared on their screens. But now she was clearly in a different location. The background showed metal walls and electronic displays instead of planetary skies. "The real Earth is quite safe, Admiral, as are our 30 billion citizens. Did you really think we would leave our entire species on one world, waiting for someone like you to destroy us? Admiral Jorvac felt something cold settle in his stomach. If the humans could make an entire planet disappear, what else were they capable of? "Where are your people?" he asked. "Distributed across 1,700 hidden colonies in 42 different dimensions," came the reply. "We learned long ago never to keep all our eggs in one basket. Every world you've seen us colonize, every system you thought we occupied, was just another layer of misdirection." Elder Visara's shocked voice came over the communications channel. "Dimensional travel? That technology is theoretical at best. The energy requirements alone are well within our capabilities," President Rodriguez finished. "You see, while you were arguing in your council chambers about how to control us, we were solving the fundamental problems of space, time, and energy. We've been busy." In the hidden command center, General Harrison watched the alien fleet's formation continue to deteriorate. Fear was spreading through their ranks like a virus, exactly as human psychologists had predicted. "Sir," reported Captain Torres, "several enemy ships are trying to break away from the main formation. Should we stop them?" "Not yet," the general replied. "Let them panic a little more. Fear makes people sloppy." On his screen, Dr. Vasquez was coordinating with intelligence teams throughout human space. "All our dimensional colonies report ready for Phase 3, General. If this goes badly, we can evacuate the entire species in less than 6 hours." Commander Thane finally lost his temper. The hegemony warrior's voice boomed across all communication channels. "Enough of these games. All ships, attack formation. We came here to fight, so let's fight." His massive battleship, the Iron Resolve, opened fire on the nearest human installation. Beams of pure energy lanced out across space, striking what looked like an abandoned mining platform. The beams passed right through it. "Hologram," Thane muttered, then shouted, "Find the real targets. Destroy everything that isn't a projection." The Council fleet began firing wildly in all directions, their weapons lighting up space like a deadly fireworks display. But most of their shots hit nothing but illusions and empty space. Then the humans fired back. The counterattack was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Instead of the massive energy beams and explosive missiles they expected, the human weapons were precise and surgical. Each shot was perfectly aimed at specific weak points that should have been secret. Captain Lisa Chang commanded the battleship Retribution from its hidden position behind what looked like a large asteroid. Her ship had been waiting here for 3 months, studying the approaching enemy fleet. "Target the Vorthak command ship," she ordered her weapons officer. "Hit the power coupling on the 3rd ventral section. Intelligence reports say that's their weak spot." The human weapon fired a beam of energy so focused it was barely visible. It struck the alien battleship exactly where Captain Chang had aimed, and the massive vessel immediately lost power to half its systems. "Perfect shot," her tactical officer reported. "Enemy ship is disabled but intact. No casualties." Throughout the battle zone, the same scene played out hundreds of times. Human weapons struck with impossible accuracy, disabling Council ships without destroying them. It was clear that the humans knew exactly where to hit each vessel for maximum effect, with minimum loss of life. Admiral Jorvac watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled. Ships that had taken years to build were disabled in seconds by an enemy that seemed to know every weakness they had. "How?" he asked aloud.
"How do they know so much about our ships?"
President Rodriguez answered as if she had heard him. "Every ship in your fleet has visited human space at least once in the past 50 years. Our people are very good at scanning things while pretending to be friendly traders and diplomats." The truth hit him like a hammer. Every peaceful contact, every trade mission, every cultural exchange had been an intelligence operation. The humans had been studying them the entire time. "Sir," Navigation Officer Lixa reported, her voice shaking. "We've lost contact with 60% of our fleet. Most are disabled but not destroyed. It's like they're being surgically taken apart." Captain Rex Morrison finally joined the battle from his position in the asteroid belt. His ship, the Silent Hunter, had been modified with weapons that used Council technology turned against its creators. "This is Hunter 1 engaging," he reported. "Target is a Nexari cruiser, same class as the Admiral's flagship. Let's see how they like their own weapons." His ship fired missiles that had been reverse-engineered from captured Council technology. The projectiles struck the enemy cruiser's shields and passed right through them, as if the defenses weren't even there. The cruiser was disabled within seconds. "Control, this is Hunter 1. Tango down. Their own shields can't stop their own weapons. These guys never planned for fighting themselves. Throughout space, the battle continued, but it was no longer a battle in any traditional sense. It was a demonstration of superior planning, intelligence, and technology. The Council fleet, which had seemed so powerful just hours before, was being defeated by an enemy that understood them better than they understood themselves. Admiral Yorvac realized that his mighty armada was not just losing. It was being humiliated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans were not just winning. They were teaching the galaxy a lesson about the dangers of underestimating your enemies. All ships, he broadcast, his voice heavy with defeat. Cease fire. Repeat. All ships cease fire. The shooting stopped, leaving space filled with disabled council vessels and untouched human installations. The silence that followed was more deafening than the battle had been. President Rodriguez appeared on his screen one more time, still wearing that confident smile. Now, Admiral, shall we discuss terms? 6 hours after the fighting stopped, the space around where Earth had been looked like a graveyard of broken dreams. Thousands of council ships floated helpless in the void, their weapons disabled and their pride shattered. Not a single vessel had been destroyed, but none could fight anymore. The human fleet maintained perfect formation around their defeated enemies. Each ship stayed exactly where it needed to be, a demonstration of discipline that spoke louder than any threat. These were not wild warriors drunk on victory. They were professionals who had planned every detail of this moment. Admiral Yorvac sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed his fleet's complete defeat. His forearms hung limp at his sides and his blue-gray skin had taken on a sickly pale color. In 40 years of military service, he had never imagined such total defeat was possible. A soft chime announced an incoming transmission. President Rodriguez appeared on his screen, but this time she looked different. The dangerous smile was gone, replaced by something that looked almost like compassion. "Admiral," she said quietly, "the war is over. Now we need to talk about what comes next. What do you want from us?" The question came from Elder Visara, whose energy form flickered weakly from her disabled ship. The ancient luminary sounded tired and defeated. "Total surrender? Tribute? Slavery?" President Rodriguez shook her head. "We want something much simpler than that. We want respect." The word hung in space between the fleets like something physical. Respect. Such a small word, but it carried the weight of 50 years of human frustration. General Harrison appeared on screen beside the president. His gray hair and sharp eyes made him look like exactly what he was, a soldier who had spent his whole life preparing for this moment. "For half a century," he said, his voice calm but firm, "the Council has treated emerging species like children who needed to be managed. You decided who could explore which systems, who could colonize which worlds, who deserved a voice in galactic affairs." Commander Thane's bitter laugh crackled over the communications channel. "And now you want to take our place? Become the new masters of the galaxy?" "No," President Rodriguez replied. "That's exactly what we don't want. Humans have no interest in ruling over others. We just want to be free to be ourselves." She gestured to someone off screen, and Dr. Vasquez joined the conversation. The xenologist looked tired but determined as she spoke. "The current council system will be dissolved," she announced. "In its place, we propose a new galactic senate with equal representation for all species. No more senior races deciding the fate of junior ones. No more expansion quotas or colonization permits." Admiral Yorvac found his voice. "You could simply destroy us all. Your technology, your planning, you could rule through fear. Why don't you?" General Harrison leaned forward. "Because that's not who we are. Humans don't want subjects or slaves. We want neighbors and friends. But we will never again allow ourselves to be threatened with extinction by those who think they know better than us." The negotiations took 3 days. Representatives from every council species participated, though they did so from the command bridges of their disabled ships. The humans provided everything needed for the talks: translation systems, legal frameworks, even food and medical supplies for species that required them. The terms were surprisingly fair. The old council structure would be disbanded and replaced with a senate where every species had an equal voice. Trade routes would be open to all. Scientific discoveries would be shared freely. Most importantly, every species would have the right to expand and explore without asking permission from anyone else. But what about oversight? Asked Speaker Vex of the collective. His mechanical voice buzzed with concern. What happens when species come into conflict? Who maintains order? We do it together, President Rodriguez replied. The same way civilized people have always solved problems. Through discussion, negotiation, and cooperation. And if that fails? Commander Thane demanded. The president's expression grew serious. Then you'll discover that humans are very good at peacekeeping operations. We prefer diplomacy, but we're prepared for other options if necessary. The message was clear without being threatening. Humanity would not be the galaxy's police force, but they would not tolerate another attempt at genocide either. As the negotiations concluded, something remarkable began happening. Repair ships appeared throughout the battle zone, their hulls bearing the symbols of United Earth. They moved from disabled council vessel to disabled vessel, offering assistance and supplies. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of Silent Hunter as human engineers worked to repair the same enemy ships they had defeated days before. Kind of strange, isn't it? His weapons officer commented. Yesterday we were shooting at them, today we're fixing their engines. Morrison smiled. That's humanity for you. We'll fight you to the death if we have to, but once the fighting's over, we'll help you get back on your feet. The repair work took 2 weeks. Human ships provided everything the Council fleet needed. Replacement parts, medical supplies, food, and even entertainment systems to keep crews occupied. It was a gesture of goodwill that many aliens found difficult to understand. Elder Visara was among the first to grasp what the humans were really doing. As her ship's power systems came back online, she sent a private message to President Rodriguez. You are teaching us, the ancient luminary observed, showing us what it means to win with honor. We're showing you who we really are, the president replied. Humans can be dangerous when threatened, but we prefer to be helpful when possible. When the repairs were complete, Admiral Jorvac stood on his bridge and looked at the tactical display one more time. His fleet was whole again, their ships fully functional. The humans could have left them helpless in space, but instead they had restored them to full capability. Sir, Navigation Officer Lixa said quietly, we have clearance to depart whenever you're ready. The Admiral nodded, then opened a channel to the human flagship. President Rodriguez, this is Admiral Jorvac. I wanted to thank you before we leave. For what, Admiral? For showing us that strength and mercy are not mutually exclusive. My people, all our people have learned something important here. President Rodriguez smiled, but this time it was warm and genuine. I hope so, Admiral. The galaxy is big enough for all of us if we're willing to share it. As the Council fleets began their journey home, construction crews appeared throughout the solar system. But these were not military installations being built. They were shipyards, research stations, diplomatic facilities, and trade centers. Dr. Vasquez stood in the observation deck of the new diplomatic station, watching as ships from a dozen different species arrived for the first session of the Galactic Senate. Former enemies now came as partners in building something better. Think they'll try this again in a few generations? She asked General Harrison, who had joined her at the window. Probably, the general replied. But by then, we'll have taught a few more species how to smile when someone declares war on them. President Rodriguez appeared on the intercom throughout the station. To all species, all worlds, all peoples who might be listening, Earth extends its hand in friendship. We offer partnership, not domination, trade, not tribute, cooperation, not conquest. She paused, looking out at the galaxy that was finally ready to accept humanity as equals. But let this day serve as a reminder to any who might forget. Humanity will never again kneel to those who would chain our spirit or limit our reach among the stars. We have taken our place in the galaxy not as subjects but as equals, and we will defend that place against any who would take it from us. The camera pulled back to show the new space station, surrounded by ships from across the galaxy. Where once there had been weapons of war, now there were tools of peace and cooperation. But in the background, almost hidden among the peaceful installations, were the defense platforms that had won humanity its freedom. They remained powered down and silent, but everyone knew they were there. The galaxy had learned that humans were a species of contradictions. They preferred peace but prepared for war. They offered friendship but demanded respect. They would share the galaxy with anyone willing to treat them as equals. But they would never again submit to those who thought themselves superior. The message was clear. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, and they were there to stay.